Welcome to the motherfucking we're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. Our continued coverage of the movement anywhere in between 135 and 140 now that Katie Taylor has so decided to vacate her IBF title, and as a result of that, the IBF have ordered a fight between Caroline Dubois and Rhiannon Dixon. Just what does this mean? Well, it means what I told you.
What?
If Katie's vacating a title or titles at 135, it's got to be because she's staying at 140. And if she's staying at 140, I don't think she'll be running it back with Amanda Serrano. I think she'll be running it back with Chantel Cameron in a trilogy, what will be their third fight. So that puts to bed any talk of an Amanda Serrano rematch. It doesn't look to be happening. Amanda's at 126. She might have moved up to 135, but I don't think she'll go all the way up to 140. Now that Katie's undisputed champion there, she may be running it back with Chantel. She may spend the remainder of her career at 140. She is 37 years old, and God bless her, I don't think she's going to be in a sport that much longer. Now, as it pertains to what belts she still holds at 135, the ones she may end up vacating alongside the IBF title. We already talked about what the IBF has going on. They ordered a fight between Caroline Dubois and Rhiannon Dixon, and I'm not confident that it happens. It just so happens that both Caroline Dubois and Rhiannon Dixon are also ranked number 1 and number 2 by way of the WBC. If Rhiannon walks away from that fight, she can turn right around and perhaps fight for the WBC title against Olympic gold medalist Estelle Mosley. For me and my money, that's a much more winnable fight than a Caroline Dubois fight. So on a predication that Katie ends up vacating the other 3 alphabet titles at this weight, and the WBC title is one among them, maybe Rhiannon Dixon walks away from the Caroline Dubois fight by way of the IBF to walk into an Estelle Mosley fight by way of the WBC. Now, that's the WBC. By way of the WBA. Uruguay's Mayra Moneo is ranked at number 1, and Rhiannon Dixon is ranked at number 2. Mayra Moneo is WBA interim champion in the pole position to pick up the WBA title should it go vacant, and Rhiannon Dixon is down there at number 2. I'd be lying to you if I told you that that would be an easy fight for Rhiannon Dixon. I've seen Mayra Moneo in action, and she's a handful. She's a volume puncher, she's a pressure fighter, and a more experienced fighter as a professional than Rhiannon Dixon. She can go that route, but it wouldn't be easy. She stands a better chance of beating Estelle. In terms of how winnable these fights are, the Estelle Mosley fight by way of the WBC is more winnable than the fight against Mayra Moneo by way of the WBA or the Caroline Dubois fight by way of the IBF. That fight has already been ordered.
The Dubois fight.
Gone over what we see in the WBC's ranks, the WBA's ranks, but what about the WBO? Ranked at number 1 by way of the WBO is Argentina's own Karen Carvajal, who's fought Katie Taylor once before. A capable fighter and a solid fighter, but a fighter I think Rhiannon Dixon could beat. Here's the problem. Rhiannon's not ranked at number 2 by way of the WBO. Ranked at number 2 is Becky Bass. Becky's ranked at number 2, and Rhiannon Dixon, she's down there at number 3. I could see a situation where maybe Eddie Hearn convinces the WBO to allow Karen Carvajal and Rhiannon Dixon to fight for a newly vacated WBO title on the condition that the winner faces Becky Bass. I could see that happening. Like I said in my previous video, the fight that's already been ordered for the title that is already vacant, the IBF title, Dubois versus Dixon, I don't see it. Nope. I don't see it happening. Because it's a riskier fight than all of these other fights, and that's not the only title that might become available in the near future. One of these other titles might become available, and Rhiannon can fight for them while they build that Caroline Dubois fight. And I'm not advocating that they wait, that they drag their feet. I'm just saying I think they're going to, because the Dubois fight is a dangerous fight, and if nothing else, there are sides of the street. There are politics involved.
Yeah.
I'm not confident that fight happens.
And don't forget that Alicia is going to come back at some point. Alicia Baumgartner, the undisputed champion down there at super featherweight. Very recently, she hinted that she means to become a two-time champion, perhaps at a second weight.
Yeah.
She might move up to lightweight.
Yeah.
She might fight for one of these titles.
The landscape is set to change at 135 pounds this year. For the longest time now, Katie Taylor has ruled this division with an iron fist, taking on all champions, subsequently taking on all comers and satisfying her mandatory challengers, but the time has come for her to move on.
A new crop of champions is set to sprout because there's no reason for her to keep those belts down there anymore.
Names you need to remember: the names of Carolyn Dubois, Rhiannon Dixon, Maida Monel, Karen Carbajal, and of course, Alicia Baumgartner. Men's heavyweight news, I'm sure most of you have heard by now. Official confirmation from none other than His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh and Eddie Hearn himself. Tonight we confirm it, it's a done deal. Anthony Joshua versus Francis Ngannou collide on a huge night in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Press conference January 15th in London with full details dropping soon.
Why did he tag Queensberry?
Ever since the Day of Reckoning card, and the sheer number of matchroom fighters you saw in that card, I myself questioned what the hell was the point in enlisting the aid of Queensberry and enlisting the aid of Frank Warren and George Warren as point men in Saudi Arabia if all you're gonna do is litter these cards with matchroom fighters, with matchroom guys. For that, you might as well have made Eddie Hearn the point man. It's his boys selling your fights.
When it was just Frank, when it was just Queensberry, that Tyson Fury versus Ngannou fight, that was a box office flop. That bombed.
For what they spent on it, what they spent on the show, what they spent to pay the fighters, what they spent to make it happen, it only brought in approximately 400,000 pay-per-view buys globally. Only 400,000.
And I'd wager that the Day of Reckoning card did much better than that. We still don't know what the numbers are, but if I had to guess, I'd have to guess that those numbers were better than the Fury versus Ngannou numbers.
The sheer number of matchroom fighters on that show might have something to do with it, as it was a matchroom fighter that was headlining the show. It was a matchroom fighter in the main event, and once again, they mean to use that matchroom fighter to sell even more pay-per-views. So I reiterate, who needs Frank? Who needs Queensberry? What exactly are they doing? And I can only deduce that maybe they have some kind of an arrangement with Francis Ngannou as it pertains to boxing, that when he's boxing, he's a Queensberry guy? I don't know.
But it's confirmed. It's confirmed by Eddie Hearn. It's confirmed by Turki Al-Sheikh that this fight is a quote-unquote done deal.
I'll know that Anthony Joshua was in action not that long ago, and it seems like it didn't take them all that long to make their decision and move on this fight, that this whole time the wheels have already been in motion to do it from the Day of Reckoning card until now.
They don't want this year to be like previous years. They want this year to be like last year, and last year Anthony Joshua hit the ground running. Anthony Joshua fought 3 times in the same calendar year. The first time he'd done that in a very long time.
Previous years, for about 3, he was averaging 1 fight a year for about 3 years. And previous year, last year, he hoped to rectify that by being busier, by being more active, because an active fighter is a sharp fighter. And that's what we saw in the Otto Valeen fight. He means to do the same thing this year by hitting the ground running and booking the Ngannou fight. The obvious virtue, the incentive in fighting Francis Ngannou, well, there's an obvious financial incentive in doing it.
They didn't waste no time. They made their decision quickly.
The plan was to do the Joshua versus Wilder fight this year, but Deontay could not hold up his end of the bargain. He lost to Joseph Parker, and many people asked, well, why didn't they just do the Joshua versus Wilder fight last year? Why didn't they do it on the Day of Reckoning card, not realizing that card was made on short notice?
That wasn't their original plan. It was impromptu. Their original plan was to get Ngannou out there one more time.
The Ngannou people decided to take the rest of the year off, so they made the Day of Reckoning card instead. And you have to put your thinking caps on for this one. If Deontay Wilder, the same Deontay Wilder that Joseph Parker fought, if that same Deontay Wilder would have walked in there with Anthony Joshua, what do you think would have happened? Based on what you saw in the Parker fight, how do you think that fight with AJ would have went? AJ would have stopped him.
Wilder went 36 minutes without landing landing a big right hand.
Deontay went 36 minutes without landing a single meaningful punch, losing round after round to Joseph Parker, who is often described as one of the most polite heavyweights in the heavyweight division, a guy who don't always exhibit too much dog, too much gumption. Well, he exhibited plenty against Deontay Wilder. Deontay couldn't hold up his end of the bargain, and Anthony's not going to waste any more time on him. Ngannou is next.
Even though the Tyson Fury fight bombed at the box office, even though Tyson Fury put forward a piss-poor performance, that inadvertently set the stage for Anthony to come in.
For Anthony to once again upstage him. Now, Tyson Fury's supposed to be in action next month against Alexander Usyk. The following month, this fight is supposed to go down. If Fury makes it through it, even though I don't think he's going to, and Anthony makes it through Francis Ngannou, that sets the stage for them to fight.
What about the two-way rematch clause between Usyk and Fury?
See what happens, because like I said, I don't have Tyson Fury winning the Usyk fight. Fury loses, I think he walks away. I think he walks away from the sport. I think he retires, but let's say that he wins.
That opens the door for a Joshua fight, so long as Anthony can take care of Francis, and I think he can.
Francis had the element of surprise going into the Tyson Fury fight. Tyson Fury himself, in spite of what he told reporters afterwards, I don't think he took the assignment seriously. I don't think he took Francis seriously. You have to consider that before he boxed Francis, he boxed Derek Chisora in a pointless trilogy. You go from fighting Chisora, who you already beat 2 times, to fighting Francis. Clearly, you're trying to stay on easy street and make a lot of money while you do it.
He underestimated Francis, and Anthony won't make that mistake because Anthony has the Tyson Fury fight to draw from.
There's no excuse for Fury underestimating Francis, because many people believed that Fury was the #1 heavyweight in the world. Now, I wasn't one among them. Better still, when you're the #1 guy, you're expected to perform at a certain level, and Tyson Fury didn't. As a result of that set the stage for this.
And I can see Anthony outperforming Tyson Fury.
I can see Anthony out-hustling Francis Ngannou. I can see Anthony punishing Francis Ngannou round after round with the jab, breaking him down. He's faster than he's given credit for. No, he's not faster than Alexander Usyk. I don't think there are any heavyweights faster than Alexander Usyk, faster on their feet with faster hands than Alexander Usyk. But Anthony does have speed for a man his size. He does have speed of his own. Standing in at 6'6", 250 pounds. He's quick for a guy that size.
And he's riding high. After that Otto Verleen performance?
He's got his mojo back as a result of being more active in the previous year than in previous years, with Ben Davison in his corner. I like that partnership. I like that pairing.
And I like his chances against Ngannou. I think he knocks him out.
You ask yourself, well, what about Hrgovic? What about Chang?
What about those two guys?
Hrgovic and Chang, they're not going anywhere. Anthony takes care of business with Francis Ngannou. He can always fight them afterwards. A few details on the planned Joshua versus Ngannou card in Saudi, according to Chris Mannix.
What?
He's told the working date is currently March 8th, a Friday. Zhang, the Chinese heavyweight, the one who I just mentioned, who scored back-to-back knockout wins over Joe Joyce last year, is expected to appear on the card. One fight that has been discussed is Zhang versus Deontay Wilder.
That would not end well for Deontay Wilder.
It's also said that Wilder could appear on the card in another fight. No talks of a potential rematch with Joseph Parker. Will Joseph Parker be moving on? And if he does, who does he fight? Does he fight Zhang? Does he fight Daniel Dubois? Perhaps Agit Kabayel?
Who does Parker fight in his next fight? Who does Wilder fight in his next fight? It's hard to imagine that Wilder can win against Zhang. Really, it's hard to imagine that Wilder can win his next fight unless they match him baby soft. They better see what Mark Demori's doing if he woke up from that Hrgovic knockout.
Or Junior Fa, maybe Arslanbek Makhmudov. Let the losers fight the losers and let the winners fight the winners. That could be the strategy. I really don't know. As it pertains to Deontay Wilder, this would be his shot at redemption, in a manner of speaking, even if it's not a Joseph Parker fight.
A rematch.
Even if I don't like his chances, it would be his chance to redeem himself, his chance to show that he's still got it against somebody, an opponent that has yet to be announced. Myself, I don't really know that he can do that with Malik Scotch in his corner. Malik Scotch, his old buddy, who for me and my money, he only hired due to proximity. He only hired him because he was there. How much can you really learn from a guy you knocked out? From a guy that you beat?
Or a guy who took a dive for you, because that's what some people think happened in that fight.
It's going to happen in Wilder's next one, an opportunity to revive the Anthony Joshua fight after Wilder once again fumbled the bag. It was their intention to do that Joshua versus Wilder fight after all this time for a lot of fucking money, and it was Wilder who fumbled the bag. It was Wilder who couldn't hold up his end of the bargain. At 38 years old, with Malik Scotch in his corner, I don't know that he can turn it around. I mean, we've seen fighters.
I remember when Sergey Kovalev lost his WBO title to Eleider Alvarez.
Sergey lost the title to Eleider in the first fight and won it back in the second. And he won it back by going back to his amateur roots, his boxing, moving and jabbing and just taking his time with the guy. Not trying to be the crusher, just being an effective boxer. And it worked because he had that amateur experience to draw from, those fundamentals, whereas with Wilder, that's not the case. Oh yeah, he medaled in the Olympics, he bronzed as an amateur, but he never had good boxing skills. He never had good fundamentals. All he's really had all these years is the big right hand, and in the Joseph Parker fight, he didn't even throw it. He couldn't.
And now that he's coming off of that loss at this age, we're expecting him to improve.
In order to improve, what exactly is he going to draw from? He never had good fitness. He never had good cardio. In spite of his athletic physique, he wasn't ever actually all that athletic, not coordinated.
Guy's got two left feet, no jab, no cardio, no coordination, not much of a work rate. He's no good on the inside.
No fluidity, no combinations. He ain't got the cardio to do it, to have that kind of work rate. I remember it was Mark Breland who said that Wilder doesn't skip rope and he doesn't do road work. He doesn't do anything for his cardio. So that means all this time, he really has been relying on the Hail Mary right hand.
Yeah.
The big right hand. Thus, here and now, at 38 years old, coming off of his latest loss, I don't know what he has to draw from.
Nothing.
But he's damn lucky they still want to use him. If nothing else, it gives him a chance to keep making money in spite of his career being all but over and his ability all but gone. Hope still lingers.
Though I'm not a big believer.
If you'll pardon my cynicism to further understand what fuels it, I've never been a big believer in Deontay Wilder or Deontay Wilder's boxing or his quote-unquote big right hand. He's always seemed an overrated fighter to me. A one-trick pony whose one trick...
It went stale.
Credit to him for making it this far with that one trick, because with that one trick, he was able to fool a lot of people and make a lot of money, and he's set to make more in this upcoming March fight, this March show. Credit to him for that.
But when was that the subject? You want to say he's an overachiever? He's an overachiever. He still has no ability.
And that was the subject. How good is he? How good is he really? And at this point, what does he have left?
Not a lot.
Wilder and his team are going to need a lighter touch. To get back in the winner's bracket, they're going to need someone a cut below a Joseph Parker. Though if that's what you have to resort to at this point in the juncture, doesn't that say it all? Doesn't that tell us what he has left?
Yeah.
Not very much.
Joseph Parker was too much for him. Though perhaps because he will have fought in the last 12 months, going into the March show, maybe that'll help.
It's a big fucking maybe, 'cause I'm not optimistic.